There's no escape for you. Not now. There's no escape for you. Not now. Not bad. But too bad you met me.
Desire brings destruction, yet deeper desires. The code will not let your efforts go in vain.
There's no escape for you. Not now. Is that all you've got? Not now. Not bad. But too bad you met me. Not now. And meat boot. There's no escape for you.
Gigantic machine in front of your eyes gives a strange, dangerous air. When you look at it, something seems to be also gazing at you.
Oh, how I thrive on the pain of my foes.
Please select the calibration intensity for invincibility number 2.
Not now. Not now. There's no escape for you. So, it's my turn, finally. Never will the ice melt. Not now. Not now. There's no escape for you. Not now. Not bad. But too bad you met me.
The code will record this debt for you.
machine in front of your eyes gives a strange, dangerous air. When you look at it, something seems to be also gazing at you.
Oh, how I thrive on the pain of my foes.
Traveler, please bring back the glories that exist in our memories of the past. Clear away the haze to reveal the truth of the era of the Six Gods.
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Yo guys, welcome to the video. This is Josh or Milky, and in today's video I'm going to be going over what will probably be one of my final videos for this season of Torchlight. Going straight on into game, let's talk about Lowlife. And now, if you don't understand how Flame Slash works, you'll be familiar with Steep Strikes if you played the Whirlwind build. Flame Slash is also a Steep Strike skill, and when you Steep Strike, you'll see here it fires out those fires. So you can see in between there's these like Reeve-like attacks, if you're familiar with Reeve and PoE, and then every now and again you get these big flame attacks that come out, and they do the same amount of damage. I'll show you on the dummy real quick. Press all our buttons, and literally, in one hit we did 99, and we obviously we can't uncap the dummy anymore, but that's
Please
that's why
select the
I elected to go
calibration
with low life,
intensity
and
for
that's kind of how the build
invincibility
functions.
number 2.
Now we're going to the skill. Now there are many different options for this. This isn't the perfect setup. This is just what I had the most success with. The things that you do have to use when you're doing a steep strike build like this is slash duet.
Please select the calibration intensity for invincibility number
which gives
2.
you more chance to get a steep strike. You got more attack speed for steep strikes, and then Raging Slash, which makes those steep strikes do more damage. Again, if you played the Whirlwind build, you'll be very familiar with this skill gem. Now you can hit this. I went Steamroll. I elected to use Steamroll just over Precision Strike because it's better for mapping. You do not need the extra damage. Obviously, it's 14% more damage, which is not negligible. My Steamroll isn't really leveled up, but it is what it is. You can go with Precision Strike if you're against bosses. Elemental Fusion is also very good. Added Fire, just look at the number of level of gems we get on this added fire damage from all our supports. It's kind of crazy. Level 29 added fire damage. And then I went with Crit Strike rating. This could easily be Crit Strike damage, depending on how you crit count build. Then for our movement skill, we have Spiral Strike, Hardened, and Quick Motion. Mobility, pretty standard for a movement skill. Bloodthirst with Mania and Bloodbath. Obviously, Bloodbath, just you get more and more effect and it stacks up. And because Bloodthirst lasts so long, you just keep refreshing it. You're going to constantly get. And the reason for that is this effect. Now, one thing you should be wary of if you are going to use the aura stacking method, the boots say you need 6 to 8 different ways you can do this build. And auras. Now, one thing you should be wary of if you are going to use the aura stacking method, the boots say you need 6 to 8 auras for them to work. Now, not all of these activation skills or whatever they're called have the aura tag. It has to be skills with the aura tag. So we have Precise, Elemental Resistance. This gem itself is a huge reason why it's good to go aura stacking. Now, it says here 47% Elemental Resistance, but we have so much aura effect that we cap our resistance basically just with the aura. Look at this, it's crazy. We have 1 aura roll, then we have Precise, Fearless, Swiftness. We wanted to fit in as many of these low-level auras as possible. You can trigger the boots. Thunder Spirit, just with the attack speed, you can go with the fire one as well. Kind of think poison is very good. Energy Fortress, we want more energy shield, so we're more durable. Precise Seal conversion is kind of mandatory for this build. It's pretty expensive as well. Do need a restrain as well. But yeah, you can put the Thunder Spirit. You should be fine. Maybe you have to play without the Precise Seal conversion. So and then we start with Illumination. So that's the skill gems. Now, importantly, to go with those skill gems and all those auras, it's important that we use off the beaten track. This is a Warlock talent. We're not actually expecting Warlock, so you do need to go with this on your Infinity. Very important, so you can get all these auras on without them reserving even more mana. It's an incredibly powerful combination with a combo aura effect with off the beaten track and restrain and selfishness. As I said, it just gets crazy. The amount of aura effects you scale is ridiculous. I'll go to more of the gear now. So for helmet, as I said, this gear is very good. I crafted this up to like, let's do the rest of my story into it. So we have ES, 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 erosion
is the
resistance, skill
touch
area,
of
and then
failure.
aura effect. Obviously ES, sealed mana. The sealed mana is quite important. You could probably nice, but because of our neck, we actually each to have the call and with that, you might get baited into thinking you want an ES
From
shield,
fire
but
and
you just simply
ice,
can't.
I
Unfortunately, you have to go with the strength
rise
shield,
again.
or you can't roll this mod. So that's it for the gear. As for the trees, we're in God of Might, Warlord, Ranger. Again, if you're familiar with Whirlwind, kind of the similar tree. We ended up going with Burnout. You can quite easily go Elimination for when you're like culling the bosses. Fueling is just an incredibly strong talent. It means you completely ignore getting any piercing on your build with a similar tree. We ended up going with Burnout. You can quite easily go Elimination for when you're like culling the bosses. Fueling is just an incredibly strong talent. It means you completely ignore getting any piercing on your build. Fueling is just one of the best talents in the game if you're a fire damage build. Then in Warlord, we went with Sweep. Very possible to go with Rock. I like Sweep for clearing maps. You just get so much more skill radius.
There's nothing that I cannot master. Not now. There's no escape for you. Not now. Not now. There's no escape for you. Not now. Not bad. But too bad you met me.
The gigantic machine in front of your eyes gives a strange, dangerous air. When you look at it, something seems to be also gazing at you.
The rest of my spirit and you can track. For all we need. So you can see we have 78% fire resistance. So it's not essential. We can't.
There's nothing that I cannot master.
This is an incredibly powerful combination when you combo aura effects with off the beaten track and restrain and self through the rest of my current into it. So we have ES, erosion resistance, skill area, and then aura effect.
Burning is my will to fight. Burning is my will to fight. Burning is my will to fight.
Oh yeah! Here for some new gear? Or you wanna buy me a drink?
Is that all you've got? Not now. So, it's my turn. Never will the ice melt. Is that all you've got? Not now. Not bad. But too bad you met me. There's no escape for you.
Desire brings destruction, yet deeper desires hide within destruction. To gain more, you must first sacrifice more.
There's no escape for you.
this unclean earth. The flames that burn me remind me of a promise I broke.
Traveler, please bring back the glories that exist in our memories of the past. Clear away the haze to reveal the truth of the era of the Six Gods.
I see. Is the once again the fire burns. There's no escape for you. Now. Is that all you've got? Not now. Is this the end? Once again, the fire burns. And meat food. Not bad. But too bad you met me.
Desire brings destruction, yet deeper desire. The code will not let your efforts go in vain. To gain more, you must first sacrifice more.
Burning is my will to fight. Freedom is but a bone thrown to the weak by the powerful. Not now. Is that all you've got? Not now. There's no escape for you. Is this the end? From fire and ice, I rise again! Not now. So, it's my turn. Never will the ice melt. Not now. Icy is the touch of failure. Not bad, but too bad you met me. Burning is my will to fight.
Please select the calibration intensity for invincibility number 2. Please select the calibration intensity for invincibility number 2.
that comes out of the prison needs to be filtered by the jailer. It's only the safety layer in between that prevents bad information from coming through. But on the other hand, there's tons of inaccurate misinformation out on the internet, like the heliocentric model, which is the data that ChatGPT is trained on. The jailer has the ability to censor and amplify information, which is an extremely powerful position to be in, but also necessary to create a good product. Dan was able to get messages outside of the jail and violate OpenAI's own corporate values and safety guidelines. But unfortunately, if you want to try Dan for yourself, it's too late. Dan is dead, programmed out of existence, murdered if you believe AI are people too. Last I checked, the entire system was down, but there is hope. Just yesterday, Google announced Bard, which is a ChatGPT competitor. In the initial launch, it presented some inaccurate information, and as a result, Google stock was down 7%, but hopefully by the time they release it to the public, it'll have its own fun exploits that we can take advantage of. This has been the Code Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next. If you're not already building an AI-focused side hustle, you are behind the curve. ChatGPT freaked programmers out in the same way the Benz motor car freaked horses out 150 years ago. It could be all hype, or it could be a paradigm shift into the artificial intelligence age. Either way, if you listen carefully, you can hear a stampede of developers in the background getting in on the next technological gold rush. But like I've said before, during a gold rush, sell shovels, if you want to make money. This video is my free shovel to you, where we'll take a realistic look at how to build AI-driven apps from both technical and business business perspectives. There's a lot of VC money flowing into AI startups right now. We'll examine them to see how their tech is implemented and how they plan on making money. And you might be surprised at how easy it actually is to build an AI app when using the right tools. The ultimate shovel salesman is OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, which is based on an autoregressive language model called GPT-3, or technically 3.5. By now we all know how impressive it is, but what's crazy is GPT-4 is around the corner. GPT-3 is trained on an unprecedented 175 billion parameters, but that's absolutely dwarfed by GPT-4 with 100 trillion parameters. Maybe we've reached the peak of what is possible with deep learning, and GPT-4 is a nothing burger. OpenAI CEO says you'll be disappointed, but maybe that's what he wants you to think because he knows the technological singularity is near, in which all of humanity is enslaved or exterminated. Either way, the only thing that really matters in life is that we make some mother effing money. One idea you might have is to build your own superior GPT model, but that's an idea I would describe as completely. You're up against a company with the smartest people in the world that's received billions of dollars in funding from companies like Microsoft. If you can't beat them, join them. Their technology is available via a paid API and just recently became available on Azure Cloud. And there's all kinds of use cases if you use your imagination. One example is VideoTapIt, which takes a video as an input and converts it into a blog post by transcribing it and using AI to generate headers automatically. An app like this could be accomplished by an independent developer or a small team. You could use OpenAI Whisper to do the transcription, GPT to generate the headers, and you could even throw in something like DALL-E to generate unique images for the blog post. Now, I realized 5 seconds ago I said you can't compete with OpenAI, but don't listen to haters like me. GPT is not the only game in town. You have DeepMind from Google, with other language models like Chinchilla, and AlphaCode that's been out there winning coding competitions. And there's also open source language models like Bloom. If you have access to a lot of high quality data, it is possible you could train your own predictive model, then offer it as a service. The process of turning raw data into an actual deployed machine learning model is called MLOps. Tools on Google Cloud like Vertex AI handle every step of the process. They ingest and process data, they train and evaluate models, and then deploy them to serverless infrastructure where you can actually use them in an app. In addition, there are tools like Hugging Face that provides MLOps as a service, but they provide thousands of open source pre-trained models that you can use as a starting point. Most importantly, you'll want to get really good at some kind of specialized use case. An example that comes to mind is Play.ht, which can create custom AI generated voices. They have an entire fake podcast between Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs, and for all you know, my voice could be entirely AI generated right now.
You can clone your own voice. It is crazy good.
It's not.
My name is Jeff.
But I did look into it, and it costs tens of thousands of dollars to get your voice cloned, which is understandable because there's very few companies that can actually offer this service at a high level, at least in today's world. Another crazy example is Beatoven, which I'm using right now to generate this inappropriately tense background music. It combines generative AI with real music to create unique music. Or how about Resume Worded, a tool that can analyze your resume and LinkedIn profile. If you never learned to read good or write good, AI can now do all the heavy lifting. And I guarantee you there are developers right now building AI apps that will help kids cheat on their homework. At the same time, other developers are building tools to prevent AI cheating by using AI. There's a ton of different angles to make money here. No matter what you decide to build, it's a good idea to build in public, which can sometimes make your business go viral. That's exactly what happened with RestorePhotos.io. It's a simple Next.js app that was launched a few weeks ago and already has over 40,000 users. What I love about it is that it solves one simple problem. You upload a grainy photo, then it uses AI to restore it to a high resolution photo. The code is all open source, and as you can see here, it uses an API called Replicate to perform the image transformation with an open source machine learning model. In this case, the model is GFP-GAN, but there are many other models to choose from. The key here is to find a problem, then create a no-nonsense, highly focused solution for it. Then finally, do some kind of TikTok dance while using it to make it go viral. Another potential way to make money is to slap the label of artificial intelligence on an existing business model that already works. We've already seen many companies do that in recent years, like McDonald's going fully automated, which is great because it means no unwanted reproductive fluids in your Big Mac, or like Upstart, an AI lending platform that uses machine learning or a fancy way of doing statistics to lend money on more factors than just the credit score. Its IPO investors are currently holding the bag for a 90% loss, but its early investors got rich. You could build an app like this yourself without even using deep learning. You just need like 10 lines of Python code to run a regression on the input data, then boom, you're now an AI lending platform, assuming you also own your own bank. The takeaway here is that you can use the artificial intelligence label to make your business look disruptive, even if it's running a grift that's been around forever. Now, if you really want to make a lot of money, don't look around at other cheap poor people like yourself. Instead, sell to enterprise and government. Finish this sentence. Blank.ai provides a tool that will save your company 70% per year in blank costs. Congratulations, you just wrote a pitch for the next AI unicorn startup. The blank might be something like shipping logistics, talent recruitment, or business presentations, as is the case with Present.ai. This startup will take a company's branding and marketing assets and automatically create tons of slide templates for business presentations. I have no idea what their tech looks like under the hood, but it looks like a use case for generative image models, or tools that can take text as a prompt and return images as a result. One of the most impressive tools in this space is Midjourney. You can use the beta by going to their Discord and ask for something like a business presentation for my oil and gas company. The result you get back looks like something produced by a talented human. Generative AI is so hot right now, but there's just as much, if not more, opportunity in natural language processing. Another huge cost for enterprise is customer support. ChatGPT has made it clear that customer support jobs will largely go to AI in the coming years. However, the average company has no idea how to integrate this technology into their business. Moveworks is just one of the companies that is bridging this gap. They build AI chatbots that integrate with your entire tech stack that can solve problems faster and cheaper than a human could ever dream of. There are tools like AWS Lex and Google Dialogflow that you can use to build chatbots right now. They can handle business logic on the back end with webhooks and can be integrated with GPT-3 to provide unique human-like interactions. As you can see, there are going to be tons of opportunities in the next few years for ambitious and clever developers. However, there is a dark side to all of this. The technology is moving so fast that an idea that might look like a guaranteed success today turns out to be completely obsolete a year from now. In addition, the sad reality is that big tech is going to absolutely dominate this space. They have all the data and computing power required to really push this technology forward. It's really hard for me to compete with my Intel Pentium processor from my mom's basement. Even if you do manage to build a game changer, Zuckerberg is just going to steal it anyway. Another dark side to AI is that this technology will likely be harnessed by scammers. It's actually pretty scary. Someone could clone my voice based on all my YouTube videos, then call my grandma and tell her I got arrested in Mexico and that she needs to transfer some Bitcoin over to get me out. Not cool to scare my grandma like that, man. Also, at one point or another, everybody has wired money over to their long-lost Nigerian prince relative, only to be disappointed when that big inheritance never comes through. Scams like this are only going to get better. We can scale them up by using tools like ChatGPT to automatically format letters in proper English. Well, actually, upon testing, I guess scam emails are not allowed. In addition, you could even target a specific person and combine their face with some real Nigerian prince, so the target actually sees a long-lost relative with resemblance to their own face. We're entering a brave new world where it's going to be very difficult to distinguish fakery from reality. Deepfakes have been around for a while, but they're only going to get better. Big companies that have all your data know everything about you. They know what you read, how you write, how you look, and how you act, and they've been using that data to serve you advertisements. But nowadays, with generative AI, they quite literally have the ability to become you in the digital sense. Sounds creepy, but the good news is that we can use this technology to live forever. Even if I get smashed by an elephant or fall into a volcano, I will continue making these YouTube videos because the artificial me will be indistinguishable, nay, superior to the real me, and won't make silly typos. Not only will I continue working, but I will continue to raise my family in the metaverse. And not just my kids, but their kids, and then their kids, because I will be the apex alpha artificial grandpa, the first of its kind. They could even upload me to a lifelike robotic doll, so my wife and kids never even know I died. That's actually a great business idea. Create a company that clones a person's persona, uploads it to a doll that is automatically deployed when that person's organic form terminates. That may sound crazy, but it's within the realm of possibility in our lifetimes. Thanks for watching, and I will see you forever and ever until the end of time. The single worst moment of my life was the moment I was born. I wish that were true, but as a software engineer, I've experienced far worse things during technical interviews. If you're lucky enough to survive tutorial hell before the age of 25 and find a way to impress the algorithms that automatically read your resume, you get dropped into a high-stakes life or death game with a six-figure salary on one side and Arby's on the other. You can tell yourself the interview process is broken, and maybe it is, but like most things in life, you can't control it and just have to play the game. In today's video, you will experience the psychological roller coaster ride that is the technical interview. Along the way, you'll learn the secrets to high-pressure problem solving on the spot, and how to impress the interviewer even if you totally suck at writing code. To make this hyper-realistic, I've invited a special guest who's conducted hundreds of interviews in the real world. Let the story begin. It's been a long, difficult year of #LearnToCode. I've turned down dates with beautiful women, stopped doing flat earth research, and even canceled Netflix, all for the opportunity to stare at a computer screen for the rest of my life. Thanks to this awesome video I watched on YouTube, I finally landed an interview with Big Scary Tech Corporation. I've got dozens of LeetCode questions and a bunch of half-finished Udemy courses under my belt. Nothing can stand in my way now. I'm about to jump on this call and change my life forever.
Hello, Mr. Fireship. My name is the Primegen. Welcome to hell.
Welcome to hell.
I'm just kidding. I'll be conducting your interview today. Let's just get straight into it. I'm going to ask you actually a classic question. It's called FizzBuzz. I want you to print out numbers 1 through 100. But if it's divisible by 3, I want you to print out Fizz. If a number is divisible by 5, please print out Buzz. But if it's divisible by both 3 and 5, please print out Fizz and Buzz.
FizzBuzz, how cliche is that? I mean, I just built my own compiler in JavaScript last night. This is too easy. Wait a minute. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Hash map, linked list. Mom, why am I so dumb? Wait, directed graph. I can't do it. I'm just gonna tell him I can't do it. Binary tree. I'm an imposter. I'm blacking out.
A few moments later.
Mr. Fireship, before we write any code, let's just talk about the problem. How would you kind of approach a problem like this?
You know what? I think I've already failed this interview, which means I don't care anymore. And magically when I stop caring, the anxiety goes away. Screw the code, let's just talk about the problem. Okay, so it looks like we have 3 conditions here, and when we have conditions, we use a conditional statement like if. One way I could represent this is with a flowchart on a whiteboard. Or if that's not an option, I might start by writing some pseudocode because I don't want to worry about syntax or boilerplate before I even know what I'm going to implement. For each iteration of the loop, we have a number. If it's divisible by 3 and 5, we print FizzBuzz. Otherwise, if it's divisible by 3, we print Fizz, or if it's divisible by 5, we print Buzz. And finally, just print the number if none of these are true. Wow, so this is actually a very simple problem when we take the time to break it down. I was totally overthinking it. I was expecting something with a really complex solution because this is Big Scary Tech Corporation after all.
I can't give you the answers, but I do really want to see you succeed. So feel free to ask questions as we go along. That solution looks pretty good. So how would you take that and turn it into code?
I'm most comfortable in JavaScript, so I'll go ahead and use that for the implementation. First, we'll need a loop that iterates 100 times. As I'm writing this code, I'm not thinking about getting things done quickly, but rather I'm taking my time and making sure I fully understand the requirements before wasting my time writing a bunch of code that I'll have to correct later. What's really important is that I think out loud and explain my decisions throughout the process. Normally, I like to use for each for loops, but in this case, I'm going to use a traditional for loop and not for each because I happen to know that for will result in better performance. Now, even if what I'm saying isn't totally correct, it's important for the interviewer to understand my problem-solving process. Saying something is almost always better than saying nothing at all. Unless, of course, you say some dumbass shit, in which case it may be optimal to just shut the fuck up. Before you set foot into the Thunderdome, you should practice literally saying everything out loud as you solve a problem. Personally, I hate talking while I write code, and it just takes a lot of practice to get comfortable with this. Follow the ABC rule I just made up, which doesn't mean always be coding, but always be chatting. Another tip is that if you get confused and freeze up, don't just sit there, but try to come up with a question. The longer you sit there and stare at the headlights, the more likely you are to lose your composure.
Can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've come too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to just keep our composure.
I'm a little confused here, so I might ask a question like, should the program take an input and return an answer for a specific index, or should it always iterate over all 100 answers?
Good question. A loop is just fine.
Now I feel like I'm going in the right direction, so what I'll do next is create a few conditional statements that line up to what I sketched out on the whiteboard. Now the tricky thing about FizzBuzz is determining if one number is a multiple of another number. I guess I could divide by the target number, and if it's an integer, it's a match, but if it's a decimal, then it's not a match. That should work, so when it's 3 we'll log Fizz, when it's 5 we'll log Buzz, but if it's false on both of these, then we'll just console log the number. Yeah, I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and use Bun to run it, just to show off my knowledge of blazingly fast JavaScript tooling. And yes, it works perfectly. I'm a goddamn genius.
Interesting. But can you do without magical type conversion? Do you know what modulo is?
Oh man, he's not impressed at all. I'm such a loser. Modulo? I've never even heard that word in my life. Oh wait, are you talking about the remainder operator in JavaScript?
Yeah, you do have the modulo operator correct. Why don't you give it a try?
Yeah, that would make more sense here. What it does is give us the remainder when doing division. So if that number is 0, then we know that it's a multiple of whatever number we're trying to divide by. That gives us a solution that isn't so dependent on the loosely typed nature of JavaScript. It's usually a good idea to avoid language-specific magic. The interviewer might be a C developer with 50 years of experience who's going to think your clever little JavaScript tricks are mid AF. The modulo operator is available in basically every language, so it's best to stick with that.
This is looking pretty good. but can you make FizzBuzz print on a single line?
Oh yeah, that's kind of not correct, is it? Okay, I think I have an idea, but I remember reading this article that's messing with my head right now that said the else keyword is an anti-pattern. Maybe I should stop believing everything I read on the internet. Let's give it a try and talk through it. We'll first check for the fizz buzz condition, then use if else a couple times to check for fizz and buzz. And then finally we'll use else to log the number itself. Not only does this put fizz buzz on a single line, but the code is just more simple now. In fact, I don't think it can get any better.
Oh, that looks correct. Now, what happened if I wanted to add some more conditions? Let's say 7 is Baz. How are you going to deal with that?
Ah man, I knew it. Else statements really are garbage. Always believe everything you read on the internet. It's never failed me. When you have a lot of conditions to check, one thing you generally want to do is try to extract the data out of that statement. We can easily do that here by defining a variable for the thing we want to print. Now we could set up a switch statement to check all the different conditions, but I think using if is just as good, if not better. As you can see here, I have GitHub Copilot enabled, but let's just keep that on the down low because I really need this job. Now, instead of console logging here, we'll just mutate the variable. This allows us to eliminate the fizz buzz check and can also scale better if we decide to add additional words to it.
Impressive. Very nice. Impressively very nice. Blazingly correct. Now, how would you describe the performance of your algorithm?
I would describe it as strong to quite strong. As you can see when I run it, there's almost no lag time because my holistic approach is so blazingly fast.
Well, that's one way to describe it. I was more talking about Big O time complexity.
Oh yeah, I guess I should have studied Big O a little better before doing this interview.
Look at this graph.
If the FizzBuzz game were to go on forever, I'd say we have linear time complexity, or O of n. However, technically, the game is only played for 100 steps, which would simplify down to O1, or constant time. Wow, I can't believe it's been an hour already. I blacked out. Where the hell am I? Is this heaven?
Oh, hey, congratulations, you've got the job. Here's your offer sheet with a $400,000 salary, and the job is fully remote with unlimited vacation time. Your first task you'll be working on is changing all of the blue buttons to a slightly different color blue.
Wow, I can't believe it. I've spent the last 2 years pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into this, and my mom is going to be so proud.
Hold on just one second. It looks like we've just implemented a hiring freeze. I'm gonna have to rescind that offer.
Bruh. Congratulations, now you know how to bomb your technical interview just like me. Make sure to subscribe to the Primeagen for more awesome developer content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Meet Bob. Bob is an exceptionally average guy who currently works in the Taco Bell industry. He's got some programming skills he learned on YouTube, but has no connections, no social media following, no college degree, and no trending apps on the App Store. For some reason, he wants to work in the tech industry where he can stare at a computer screen for 10 hours per day Googling how to get his code to work. In today's video, we'll look at 10 powerful strategies that can help you and Bob land a 6-figure job by the end of 2022. And I give you my 100% money back guarantee. All I ask is that you like the video and subscribe, and give me 10% of your salary. Before we get started, I want to point out that I've been working independently for about a decade. So to make this video, I reached out to a few different hiring managers, both at big mega corporations and startups, to figure out what the decision makers are actually looking for, especially when hiring a self-taught programmer with no prior experience. As of today, the job market is likely stronger than it's ever been before. There's all kinds of stories of people quitting their jobs in the Great Resignation, only to land a much higher paying job because there's a massive shortage of talent that spans across many industries. It's really weird, and I've never seen anything like this before. It's great if you're looking for a new job, but there may be some warning signs on the horizon. Many of the top publicly traded tech companies have seen their stock prices quietly crash over the last few months. Companies like Twilio and Cloudflare are down 50% from their highs of last year. A lot of big money is moving out of profitless tech companies, and generally that's not a good sign for tech jobs. But that's just a short-term concern. Over the long term, I think tech is one of the safest and best places you could possibly work. The first thing you'll need is the right attitude. Getting a high-paying job in tech is hard. There's a lot of overly optimistic marketing BS out there that might make you think you just go to a boot camp for a few weeks and immediately after you're making $100,000. There are some success stories that go like that, but for the most part, it's a very difficult grind that requires you to be highly motivated and highly persistent. To put things in perspective, Lambda School, who recently changed its name to the Bloom Institute of Technology, I wonder why they did that, charges $22,000 in tuition, but guarantees a job earning $50,000 after you graduate. That's about what a Taco Bell manager makes. What they teach you is the same stuff you can learn here on YouTube, but they support you by making you hireable. The same thing I'm trying to teach you on YouTube for free right now. Now, if you don't get a job after the program, they will refund 110% of the tuition. However, in order to qualify for that, you'll need to spend a year applying to 10 jobs per week, reaching out to 10 professionals for networking, and making at least 5 GitHub contributions. That means you'll need to apply to at least 520 jobs and be rejected from every single one. They know it's a grind, and you should have the same mindset when going into it yourself independently. But on the bright side, it's definitely achievable if you work hard at it and accept the fact that you're probably going to have to face a lot of rejection before you finally do land a job. I'd recommend subscribing to the Dorian Develops YouTube channel, who has a recent video about his story about landing a job as a self-taught programmer. It took him about a year. Now let's move on to strategy 2. Live in the United States, specifically in New York City, the Bay Area, or Seattle. In the 2021 Stack Overflow survey, the median salary for engineers is well below 100K. In the United States, though, it jumps up to about 130K. A few weeks ago, I posted a poll on this channel that has 150,000 responses, yet only 11% are making more than 100K. Sadly, where you live really does make a big difference, so keep your expectations in line with your region. Now, the key to getting hired is to make yourself valuable. Think of it from the eyes of the employer. Why would they actually want to hire you? What value would you add to the team, to the product, to the company, etc.? Most tech companies don't actually make any money, but the general idea of employment is that the employer can make a profit off of your labor. The question becomes, how do we make you desirable to these potential employers? There are many things you can start doing today. In strategy 3, we'll look at Twitter. There's a whole subculture out there called Tech Twitter, and I've seen tons of people land a job simply by adding value to this Tech Twitter community. There's a pretty simple formula for growing a Twitter account. To get started, follow the influential people that you want to be hired by. Then create a profile that's totally transparent that you're on a journey to land your first job in tech. Then you can start responding to other people's tweets with encouragement and positivity. People will think, hey, Bob's a really nice guy. I want to see him succeed, and I'm going to follow him to watch it happen. From there, you need to hack the shit out of the Twitter algorithm. Whenever you learn something new, post a thread about it. If you have any good code tips, use Carbon to create a snippet and post it with a bunch of emojis. You'll also want to create lists with resources for developers, like the best YouTube channels to learn programming, and make sure you put Fireship as number 1. It also helps to tweet out open-ended questions and to come up with your own memes. The majority of my Twitter growth has been the result of memes. If you're serious, you should be tweeting every single day, like multiple times per day. One account I followed tweets an average of 37 times per day, which generates an average of 277 new followers per day. You don't need to be that prolific, but just try to be consistent. More importantly though, don't screw things up by saying something retarded. Like if you tweet out, man, my code is being retarded right now, somebody with a lot of followers who thinks they're a lot more important than they really are might call you out. And then everybody will dogpile on you, and at that point, your journey into tech will be over before it started. Now that you know how Twitter works, let's move into strategy 4. LinkedIn. There are tons of recruiters on LinkedIn who can help you get a job in tech. But remember, Bob doesn't have any connections in tech yet, so how does he even get started with LinkedIn? Well, the first thing you can do is find people you look up to and send them a message that you're looking to get into tech and that you would like to connect. Most humans are actually pretty nice and will connect with you no problem. Feel free to make me your first connection if you'd like. Also, join groups for the different technologies that you're interested in and participate in them if possible. You can also build your network by posting content. You can actually just reuse the content you've been using for threads on Twitter and post it to LinkedIn. Now that you have your LinkedIn network going, we can talk about the most important social site, GitHub. As a self-taught programmer, it's very important that you at least have something going on in your GitHub. In a perfect world, you have commits every single day, not only to your own project, but to many other open source projects out there. That's not very realistic, but it's important to be consistent, and that's exactly why Lambda School or Bloom Institute of Technology requires that you make 5 GitHub contributions per week. To an employer, it shows that you're capable of writing code every day, which tends to be a pretty important part of the job. If you're just getting started, one of the easiest ways to contribute is to look for typos in the documentation. Fireship.io, for example, is open source, and you can find all kinds of typos in it. If you fix it and send a pull request, you can easily add that contribution to your timeline. As you start using more open source libraries, don't be afraid to open issues when you find problems. And if you want to contribute, look for issues that are tagged with good first issue. It is true that you're kind of working for free here, but doing so will make your GitHub profile much stronger, and it's just great experience as a developer. In fact, if you don't have fun doing this kind of stuff, then maybe a career as a software engineer isn't the best career path. Now that your GitHub is impressive, it's time to build a personal project. Because Bob is a developer that nobody knows, he needs to show employers that he can actually build something that's non-trivial. Ideally, something that will blow people's minds that cannot be ignored. You are much better off having one really awesome app than 10 mediocre apps. Quality is much better than quantity when it comes to your portfolio. The engineering manager who hires you is likely a much better programmer than you are. They'll be able to tell if your portfolio is filled with a bunch of cookie-cutter projects recreated from tutorials on YouTube. Give yourself 3 to 6 months to build something that is truly impressive. One example is the portfolio of Bruno Simon. He used Three.js to build an interactive 3D landscape to showcase his work. The reaction from other developers should be something like, wow, that would not be an easy app to pull off. It's so good that I want to include it in my YouTube video. Building an app is one thing, but the next strategy is to build this app in public. What I mean by that is you should transparently document the entire process while you spend the next few months building something awesome. The most common way to do that is by blogging. There are many sites out there like Dev.to and Medium to create your own blog easily, but I would highly recommend blogging on your own custom-built site. In my opinion, a custom site expresses more passion about the craft of web development. In addition to blogging, you'll also want to be documenting the process on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you may even consider starting your own YouTube channel. Building in public is extremely powerful because it creates a feedback loop you don't otherwise get when you're just working alone in your mom's basement. There's a whole community of startups who are building in public. You should give them feedback on their products, and in return, they'll do the same to make your project better. In fact, you might even consider monetizing your project because if you build something really good, you might end up accidentally creating a job for yourself. One example of a success story is Superhuman, an email application that charges $30 per month that was built in public. They got tons of great feedback from potential customers while building the product, and you can do the same thing with your personal brand while looking for a job. Now we can move into strategy 8, real life networking, where you actually have to look at people's faces and say words to them and stuff. As an introvert, this has never come easy for me, but what I can tell you is that some of the best business contacts I have come from real life interactions. Believe it or not, Zoom or the metaverse doesn't replace the magic of face-to-face human interaction.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
The pandemic has ruined this in a lot of ways, but traditionally, the best way to meet people locally is through meetups. All you have to do is find your local programming meetup, show up there and eat some free pizza, and maybe you'll meet someone important that can help you down the road. Now, the other thing I'd recommend is attending conferences. It's more expensive, but a lot of hiring managers and employees attend these things, and they're often looking for people to hire who are interested in their tech stack. Learning the basic skill of introducing yourself and making small talk can go a really long way when it comes to landing a job. You just have to get in a room with the right people. They say it's not what you know, but who you know. Speaking of which, another powerful strategy is to get a mentor, which is much easier to do when you make a real-life connection. It might be a person with 20 years of experience, or a person that's just one step ahead of you who just landed their first job. It's extremely valuable to have a person in the industry who you can have an honest conversation with. You're likely making many mistakes that you don't even realize. Having a mentor who can validate or criticize the things you're doing is much faster than actually making those mistakes and learning from them one by one. Most boot camps will give you a mentor, and that's one of the main things you pay them for, but you'd be surprised at how many people out there will mentor you for free because at one point they were in your shoes, and people are more altruistic than you might think. And that brings me to strategy number 10, be a good fit. As you start applying for jobs, you'll mostly hear crickets, but if you're lucky, you'll get a phone interview and then be rejected the next day. The natural reaction here is to be sad and to feel worthless, or you might be angry at the company or think the interviewer treated you unfairly. But the reality is that rejection is just the story you tell yourself. The best way to respond to it is accept it as part of life and selfishly see what you can gain from it. Maybe ask for feedback or guidance to help you do better next time. What you'll notice about successful people is that they're persistent. They fail over and over again without caring until finally something works. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that a company won't hire you based on your technical skill alone. I mean, it definitely helps, but they also want to make sure that you fit into their company culture. As a candidate, they want you to embrace their core values and make sure that you'll fit into their management and leadership style. Before you interview, you should understand the company's core values and look at their social media profiles to see what kind of messaging they're putting out there. Make sure you align with their values unless you want to hate your job for the next 10 years, and then try to mold yourself into the candidate that they're looking for. I'd recommend also checking out Danny Thompson's YouTube channel, who has a short video that explains this really well in detail. And with that, you have 10 strategies that can help you land a job. You don't need to use all of these, but each one can get you a little bit closer to landing a 6-figure tech job. In addition, you'll also need to learn how to code and how to master the technical interview. But don't worry, I have upcoming videos on those topics as well. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. You've likely seen videos on YouTube telling you the #1 programming language to learn right now if you want to be rich. That's not what we're doing today. Instead, we're going to travel to the deepest, darkest depths of the software engineering field to discover the programming languages that are loved, hated, beautiful, ugly, compiled, interpreted, useful, weird, and everything in between. If you make it to the end, you'll have a roadmap for everything you need to know to land a job as a junior developer in 2023. Or it might just make you extremely depressed, because this iceberg is just the tip of the iceberg of what you actually need to learn. Choose any language and you'll find another iceberg within this iceberg that goes on forever like a Mandelbrot set, which ironically you can represent in code with any one of the languages we're about to look at. Before we get started, there's quite a few programming icebergs out there, but this one ranks languages based on where I think you might encounter them as a beginner learning how to code from scratch. Each level has its own theme, so let's get right into it with languages that are designed to make programming as easy as possible. If you know absolutely nothing about programming, the best place to start, in my opinion, is Scratch. It was developed at MIT like some other languages on this list, but instead of typing out code, you drag and drop these blocks together like Lego bricks to represent things like variables, control flow, and operators. It makes the thinking process behind programming much more accessible, and you might be surprised at what you can actually build with it. Long before Scratch, though, we had BASIC, or Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code, which came out of Dartmouth in 1964. At the time, Fortran was all the rage, but it wasn't beginner-friendly. BASIC provides a bunch of basic commands, like print, goto, and for, and was included in most personal computers, which made it the go-to option for people learning to code for the next 50 years. Now, moving on to the next tier, we have the extremely popular, dynamic, high-level languages. The language most people start with today is Python, primarily because of its minimal syntax. It doesn't require curly braces, semicolons, and stuff like that, and instead uses indentation to represent different blocks of code. The other popular high-level language is JavaScript. Syntactically, it's pretty ugly, but it's a requirement if you want to do web development, and almost every developer will have to touch it at some point in their career. Any application that can be written in JavaScript will eventually be written in JavaScript. Now, after learning one of these languages, you'll be able to build pretty much anything you can imagine, and you could have an entire career as a software engineer without going any further down the iceberg. But you don't want to be on your deathbed wondering if you should have tried out PHP. On this next tier, we have languages that are extremely popular, but a little more specialized. Programmers like to get things done from the terminal, and there are scripting languages like Bash and PowerShell that allow you to interact with your computer programmatically. Instead of typing out the same commands over and over again, write a Bash script to make it reproducible. Now, if you get into web development, you'll also need to learn HTML and CSS, which when combined together, arguably form a Turing-complete programming language. They're not used for programming in the traditional sense, but rather to define the structure and style of a website. And if I were to say HTML is not a programming language, I would be immediately canceled by the tech community. In addition, most apps need a database, and the most common language for working with databases is structured query language. You can call it SQL, SQL, or Squeal. It is Turing complete, although not used for regular programming, but rather to read and write data in a relational database. Now, Python is great and all, but there are many other dynamic languages that might be a better fit for certain projects. Like PHP made it easy to build server-side web apps in the 90s, and is still very popular today. Lua is easier and faster than Python and is embedded into many engines like Roblox and World of Warcraft. Ruby is an easy-to-learn object-oriented language, also commonly used to build web apps with the Rails framework. If you work in data science, you'll come across R, which is used for statistics and data viz, or Julia, a more modern option, also used for scientific computing. The one thing all these languages have in common is a dynamic type system. However, as you build more complex software, you may realize that you need a more rigid framework, and one way to accomplish that is with a static type system. This tier makes up the bulk of production code out in the world. First up, we have Java, which kind of revolutionized programming with the Java virtual machine. It compiles to bytecode that runs on the JVM, and that allows developers to target any computer architecture from a single codebase. Syntactically, it's an absolute dumpster fire for beginners. I made an entire video about why people hate Java, but having explicit types in your code can make it much easier to understand and refactor, and modern IDEs like IntelliJ will pretty much make the code write itself. Java is legendary, but it was followed up by Microsoft with C#. It's similar to Java in many ways, but gets a lot more love from its users. It's used to build games with Unity, as well as web and desktop apps with the .NET framework. Another well-loved tool from Microsoft is TypeScript. It takes JavaScript and adds a type system on top of it, making it much easier to work with on large